Good afternoon, everyone. This session is actually meant to go live on Facebook, so we won't be expecting much people to come in. But then, if you have a good number of people, it's also welcome. We appreciate you all for coming to this session. This session will be talking about lesson learned from home fire accidents. Lesson learned from home fire accident. In recent times, we've gotten reports, recordable and non-recordable reports of various accidents, fire accidents that has happened in our communities, in our workplaces. And it's a point of duty for us to discuss about this. The importance cannot be overemphasized. As you all know, fire has been one of the major causes of destruction, leading to loss of lives and properties. Billions and billions of naira have been lost in the nation, especially Nigeria, as a case study. In 2015, there was a record by Lagos State to have lost 157 lives, 23 billion naira in 1,932 fires. Meaning, in the year 2015, according to a report, there was a total of 1,932 fires. That was in 2015. Also, in 2018, there was another report that a total of 9 billion naira was lost to fire. These statistics needs to be understood so that we will know the level of loss that we're talking about here. When we talk about 9 billion naira being lost to fire accident, 84 lives were lost. And recently, in 2020, we have another report that a total of 9 billion was lost to fire. In 2018, it was 12.8 billion naira that was lost to fire accident. That is, the Lagos State government lost 12.8 billion naira. And in 2020, we have 9 billion naira, which means there is a reduction in the number of fire accidents and the amount lost. But looking at this amount, for us to understand it, there was a time that I was going through some statistics, and they said, for example, to build a standard hospital will cost you 700 million naira. When we look at 700 million, at least directly, 700 million times 10 will give us 7 billion naira. That is times 10, it will give us 7 billion naira. So if you have it, like let's say times 11, that will be 7.7, times 12, that will be 8.4, times 12, 8.4, then times 9, times 13 will be around 9.1. So we're talking about 9.1 billion naira to build 13 hospitals, 13 standard hospitals. Please kindly signify that you're following me, please, before we go deep into the discussion.
Yes, we're with you.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir. So which means that 9 billion naira, a total of 13 standard hospitals, could have been built in 2020 with the amount that was lost to the fire accident. Now let's look at 2018 when we have 12.8 billion. Now look at the amount of hospitals we could have built with that money. Now let's look at The first one in 2015, when we lost 23 billion naira in Lagos State alone. All the statistics is for Lagos State alone, which means that there is a shift in the amount, this money that has been lost can actually be used for other things to develop the economy. Which means that if we take safety very seriously, it will definitely contribute to building a better nation. Mind you, the hospitals we are talking about for 700 million naira for one is not just a roadside hospital. We're talking about standard hospitals, international standard hospitals will be built with that money at least. And this money have been lost to fire accidents. And most of these fire accidents happens in our communities, in our markets. So it is high time we understand and we discuss about some of these fire accidents that have happened in recent times. The reason why I decided to make this presentation is that yesterday, a friend of mine started me up and was crying like his room got burnt in fire. His room got burnt in fire. And what caused that fire? You'll be surprised if I tell you that the cause of that fire was actually a laptop was on the bed. I think I have some pictures here to show us. A laptop was on the bed. She kept the laptop on the bed, and that was where the fire came up, and it burned almost everything in the room. And she was like, what could have happened? Is it that there's a spiritual attack inside our room? I said, madam, there's no spiritual attack. These things are the basic things that we preach. There are some things that we neglect that might have caused this to happen. Please kindly confirm if you can see my screen. I want to share to us some of the pictures.
Yes, sir. We can see your image on the screen right now.
Yeah, you can see this image. Now, this is the laptop. This is the side that got burnt. The laptop side that got burnt. This is the other side. This is the laptop. Please see the picture of the laptop. We'll still see the picture of the house itself. I think this is it. This happened just yesterday. She was panting, scared. I mean, it's that she had never imagined would ever happen. The window was shattered. Everything was gone. So this means that little things actually lead to fire. This means that little things can actually lead to fire. Sorry, please. I am having some difficulty. Hello, can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, with you.
Please, apologies as I'm having some issues. As I was saying, there is need for us to understand the issue of fire accident and how we should address it. Now, when I was discussing with this lady, I asked her some questions, and I asked if the laptop was bad. She said laptop wasn't bad. If she has experienced some kind of excess heat from the laptop, she said no. And at the end of the day, I told her to do some investigation, and she made me to understand that the adapter, the charger adapter, was on the bed. and that was what blew up and led to the fire. Meanwhile, everything was on the bed, and that is where the issue started from. We need to understand that there are three things that starts fire in our home. It's very important. Normally, generally speaking, there are three things that starts fire, and we need to be aware of this. If these three things are present, based on general knowledge, there is possibility, if there is proper chemical reaction between them, for fire to take place, for combustion to take place. And the first thing that we will have in our home to start a fire, fuel. If you look at the incident that happened yesterday, there was a ready-made fuel, which is the bed. And the second thing is the source of heat, source of ignition, heat source, which is actually the adapter that blew up, which is the electrical equipment. And the third thing is the presence of oxygen. As we all know, oxygen is actually present in large quantity, is readily present in the environment. So if the three things happen, basically we just need a fuel and we need a heat source. So what happened was that the charger that blew up, the adapter that blew up, brought about the heat. With the bed that was there, immediately the bed caught on fire and got to the laptop, burned the laptop, and it kept on burning. And this was what led to the fire that we had. That being said, I will quickly play a video for us, to our viewers, a video by Mrs. Mercy, the president of American Society of Safety Professionals, one of our videos on fire accidents. And this will give us a general knowledge and a good direction to continue our discussion. Please kindly confirm that you can see the video.
Welcome to another episode of Stay Safe with Mary.
Sorry, can we see this?
In this episode, we are going to discuss about 5 common causes of
Let me confirm.
I haven't played the video.
Okay. I just played it now. Can we see it now?
Good day. How are you, Mrs. Precious? I am fine, and you? I'm also fine, thank you. You are welcome.
Let's confirm that we can see the video.
What did you have for us today? I want to discuss about common
I can't see it. I'm just seeing your images and the likes, your files.
Okay. I'm sharing it now. I don't know.
Welcome to another episode of Stay Safe with Mercy.
Can we see it now?
Negative.
Can we?
No, not yet, so I can't still see it. I can't view it yet.
House fire. Mrs. Mercy. Good day.
And it's playing here already. Okay, let's continue since there is an issue with that. I'm actually playing it here and I can't really explain what's happening. We'll try and play it again. So, moving forward, there is this particular accident. For a fire to happen, I said we need three things. So if those three things are present, definitely we have a fire. Some time ago in my neighborhood, there was an accident that happened that led to serious fire, which I used to use as an example. Number one, the first thing, someone is asking if I can show the media player. I'm trying my best to make that happen, but I can't really understand what's happening here. Let's see once again if you can get it played. If not, we are going to move forward. You can't allow that to disrupt the session. So I'm trying to play it now. I don't know if you can see it.
Stay safe with Mercy. In this episode, we are going to discuss about.
So please, let's continue. Let's forget about that. So like I was saying, there are 3 things that will make a fire to happen.
Hello, Hallelujah.
Yes, sir.
Hello, Mr. Hallelujah.
Yeah, Waliu. Yes, sir. Can you hear me, sir? Hello? Hello, sir, are you there? Sorry. So let's continue. So what actually happened in this area was that the little child who was about to cook dinner for the family was trying to, make use of the gas cooker. And at the end of the day, an unfortunate thing happened. What happened? The gas cooker that has a burner on top, the burner has always been leaking, and the family has always been trying to manage this burner. So on that fateful day, the child already switched on the gas and wanted to ignite it with the matches. Unfortunately, it led to a big fire, and that burnt the whole kitchen from A to Z. Now, imagine what could have happened. Imagine what could have happened if they have repaired that equipment. Imagine what could have happened if they have decided to repair that equipment earlier before the issue of the fire happens. And these are the little things that causes fire in our home, and at the end of the day lead to thousands of naira, millions of naira being lost when we fail to take action to prevent an accident that could happen by taking actions earlier. Like the accident that I mentioned the other day, which is the issue of the laptop that got burnt. Peradventure, the adapter will have been showing some symptoms, maybe overheating, and the person decided to ignore it. And on that fateful day, the incident happened. One thing we should always avoid when it comes to the use of laptop is that we should avoid placing our laptop on the bed. That has always been said several times. It is advisable our adapter, everything should be on the floor or on the table. It is better than to put it on the bed because the foam is more combustible and can lead to fire if the heat is enough. We have oxygen already in the environment. Like I told you, we have 3 things to lead to fire. If those 3 things are present, definitely we have a fire. And the first thing that I mentioned is the fuel. If the fuel is available, in the case of the gas accident, the fuel was the gas that they were using to cook, which is a butane or propane depending, and the source of heat was the matches that was used to ignite the fire, and thirdly, the oxygen which is available in the environment. Now, when this accident happened, that is why we advise people to always have a fire extinguisher. If you don't have a fire extinguisher in your home, the next thing, if you know that you can't afford a fire extinguisher, which should not be an excuse, because a fire extinguisher should be in your home. It's a basic need. Anything can happen at any time. That is why your car, they advise that you must have a fire extinguisher. But if for any reason you don't have a fire extinguisher, there are other things that can be used to extinguish fire, at least to a larger extent. A good example is when you have your sand bucket. Sand bucket is common. That is your normal sharp sand. The sharp sand that you see around you. You put enough in your bucket and keep it safe at some locations, at some corners of your home. If you have this sand bucket, and let your children know that this sand bucket is not for you to play. In case there's a fire, you can use it to extinguish fire by pouring it with full force on where the fire is. Another common thing that people use to extinguish fire is for them to use foam and water, which is somehow the same methodology as foam fire extinguisher, because we have various types of fire extinguisher. We have the CO2, the carbon dioxide fire, the CO2 fire extinguisher. We have the APC, which is the dry chemical powder fire extinguisher. We have the wet chemical powder fire extinguisher, and we have some other type of fire extinguishers too. We have wet chemical powder, we have the dry one, we have the dry the CO2, and other type of fire extinguishers too. We have water fire extinguishers too. So knowing these things will keep us safe and will be able to prevent further accidents from happening. In the case of the accident that happened the previous time that I mentioned about the gas accident, when the fire started, the man who is the father of the house was scared. And normally when people see fire, they think that, okay, normal fire, the next thing you use is water. Meanwhile, you do not use water to extinguish a gas fire. Is going to be a worst case scenario. It's going to be a worst situation. So what happened on this fateful day? The man took water and poured it on the fire, and the fire got angrier and grew more, because water and gas are most likely enemies. So he thought that the water could extinguish the fire from the gas, which was not, and the fire grew more. So in no occasion should you use that. Then when the fire grew more, they were like, what will they do again? Oh, okay. Then they've learned, maybe somewhere, somehow, without having adequate knowledge, they heard that you could use what's it called? You could use smoldering method, that is covering up the fire. So they went to take a plastic bucket, a plastic drum, and try to cover the fire. Meanwhile, there were still spaces under the drum, and oxygen was still available. The idea of all this extinguishing medium is to prevent one of the agents. I told you we have 3 agents. Let us always put that in mind. We have the heat, we have the fuel, and we have the oxygen. When we try to use water, we are trying to remove the heat. When you try to use covering to cover the fire, the idea is that you are trying to prevent oxygen from getting in, because by the time oxygen does not get in, then definitely you have a fire. So that is the simple idea behind it. So unfortunately for them, there was still some oxygen passing under, and the fire was too much. And guess what happened? The whole drum got melted and the fire continued burning. So meaning that from the initial stage, due to ignorance and lack of knowledge on how to adequately extinguish a fire, it grew worse and worse till it covered the whole kitchen and moving towards the sitting room. In fact, it even got to the sitting room. Now, when this happened, I was called upon to help them extinguish the fire, because some of them do see me make safety videos. They used to see me do some safety stuff. They know me as a safety person in my community. So immediately we took our fire extinguisher. We asked for more fire extinguishers, and we got to the scene. At that stage, it's no more a primary fire. The gas that was the fuel has finished, but secondary fire attached to the wood and every other thing, there was fire engulfed. And at the end of the day, we're able to use the CO2 fire extinguisher, which is primarily doing 2 things. The CO2 is doing 2 things. Number one, it is repelling oxygen, and at the same time, it is a cooling agent because it has some cooling effect. So we are able to extinguish the fire. Then after that, we're able to use water to baptize the whole building, to the whole kitchen, and we got the fire out. In the case of the laptop fire accident that happened, that I was told yesterday, the report given to me was that a man buoyantly took what's it called, detergent, and poured it in a bucket in large quantity, and went into where the fire was and started pouring the water, and that extinguished the fire. That is more like a foam fire extinguisher. And what that does also is more like smoldering. That is to remove the water, to remove the oxygen, so that the fire will go down. So all these things are required. Meanwhile, there are lots of things that can lead to fire in our homes. There are lots of things that can lead to fire in our homes. One of those things that is common, which is the most hazardous area, is the kitchen. The kitchen is one of the most hazardous area because it has a gas cylinder, and we've said several times that our gas cylinder should be kept outside. Most of us might have come across a video of a mother, maybe a mother and a child or so, cooking in the kitchen, and the gas just got exploded and they ran out. Most of us have come across that, meaning that our gas cylinder can explode in the kitchen. That is why it's better to keep the gas cylinder outside and pass it through a hose or a conduit system into the kitchen. And mind you, if you are passing it through a conduit system through the blocks and all this, like, you should always make sure that rodents are not in your homes, or you take care of them, because rodents are known to always eat these holes, and it leads to leakages. And when there are leakages in the homes, everywhere is filled with the gas. Any little ignition will lead to fire. All these things are very important. Our gas cylinder most times should be outside. And when we are using a burner, the kind of burner that we use, we advise that we use a burner that is seg-ignitive. That is, once you switch it on, it switches, the fire comes up itself, not the one you need to buy and go and get matches or lighter to make use of. Another thing that can cause fire in our home is our electrical equipment. Most of us, when we see some symptoms in our electrical equipment, we ignore them. We ignore them. Like the other one, which is the burner that happened that was leaking. The man ignored it like it's a minor thing as far as you know how to manage it, until it cost him lots of money and almost cost him the lives of his family. So all these things are very, very important, and we need to take note of them. Our electrical equipment need to be properly inspected. When we observe that there are some faults being developed on our electrical equipment, it's our duty and responsibility to always repair them. Take it away, call an electrician to help you to repair them. We should not develop the attitude of trying to manage. Most of us in our homes, our electrical cooker, we will receive shock from the pot. Maybe when we want to get the pot down, we receive some shocks. Receiving shocks is a symptom, is a signal that there is a fault in the electrical system, and it's a signal for us to repair them. But most of us don't do that. Most of us don't do that at all. So we are calling on us to try as much as possible to take safety very seriously. When we observe that our electrical equipment is bad, is not functioning well, we should try and repair them, and we should develop an attitude of proper maintenance, a maintenance culture. When we check our power supply connection, the cutout, we should make sure that we are not perceiving some strange odors. Sometimes we're perceiving some odors of maybe the plastic is burning around the electrical, the power supply cutout. We fail to take responsibility to repair them until it leads to fire. We've seen incidents of fire that have happened because they failed to repair electrical equipment. Some, their iron, they left it plugged, faulty iron, and got engulfed in fire. We've seen situation of those electrical sockets, and it led to fire and burnt the whole home. So there are a lot of things that could lead to fire in our homes, mostly electrical equipment and the kitchen, which is the cooking gas that we use. Meanwhile, there are some people develop the attitude of keeping some keeping some chemicals in their homes, maybe for personal use. And in most homes, or let me say some homes, their store is usually close to their kitchen. Their store is close to that, so they keep these chemicals. And these chemicals, when it gets to particular temperature, they lead to fire. We should make sure that any chemical at all, we should understand the content of every chemical that we are using or that we are keeping in our homes. We have what is called SDS, that is safety data sheet. It was formerly called MSDS. So the SDS should be properly understood to know if this kind of chemical can lead to fire. Our generators too, where our generator room, most of us, we keep enough fuel in the generator because we don't want to disturb ourselves to start going to buy fuel every time. We're going to buy fuel every time. Solvents. This kind of fuel can lead to fire. I've seen an incident that happened right in my community that a generator led to fire, and it was almost getting to the stage where the fire will catch up with the fuel that was saved at one corner. Now those fuel were inside the keg. The keg was already melting. It was almost melting to the extent that the fuel will burst out, and that would have been a worse situation. But we were able to curtail the accident. We were able to we were able to switch off the generator and extinguish it. At the same time, we use sand, we use foam and water and other things to extinguish the fire. All these things, as little as they are, is very important. Paints too. Our paint, any solvent at all, we have solvent-based paint, we have water-based paint. Our solvent-based paints too, solvent-based paints can lead to fire. Our solvent-based paint can lead to fire because they are also flammable. They are flammable, they are combustible. They can lead to fire. All these things, we need to take note of them and be rest assured that these things don't cause issues in our homes. Another thing that we use in our homes that lead to fire is candle. Some of us use candle for beautification. Some of us use it to read. Some of us just use it for religious purposes. No matter the purpose you are using your candle for, just make sure that it doesn't lead to fire. Whenever you are using your candle, make sure you are there. Place your candle in a container that will contain the wax and the possible fire that could come up. We should avoid the attitude of keeping our candle in one place and going to another place, no matter what we are doing. If we know that we won't be there where the candle is burning, we should please put off the candle. Actually, you can always go back and ignite the candle back. So candles are also part of those things that I think it was also in 2016 that an accident happened that led to a whole house getting burnt. And what started the fire? Candle. I think the child was reading with the candle, was reading on the bed, was tired. This thing is gradual. You are sitting down reading at night using your candle, there's no power supply, and gradually, because you are tired, you are like, let me lie down and read. You lay down to read, put your candle beside your bed. Gradually, it's psychological. You won't understand until you get caught up in the fire. Before we know it, the bed was already on fire, and before we knew it, fire was everywhere. So all these things, anything that can lead to fire, anything that you know that is combustible, anything you know that can lead to heat, anything you see that is faulty in your equipment, in your tools, in those things that you use at home, your appliances, always try to take them out for repair. Don't let us wait till there's an issue of fire before we take action. Unfortunately, there are some pictures that I would like to show us, but I don't know what's happening. I don't know. I really don't know what's happening. I wish I could show us these pictures. Please, can we see this? Can we see this checklist?
Yes.
Yes, thank you very much. Now, this is a home fire safety checklist that contain some of those things that we should look out for. Some of us in our homes, we have smoke detectors, we have smoke alarms. That is standard setup, because in a standard setup, if you are renting a home of 1 million plus, even 500,000 naira safe, at least that kind of house, a million naira that you are renting for a million naira, or your own home that you went to buy in Lekki, 20 million, 30 million, should have a smoke alarm, because that is not a small amount of money. Even normally in our homes, generally, we should have a smoke alarm. It's not until we'll get to that level. A smoke alarm will detect any smoke that comes out from a fire, though it detects some things that are not fire, maybe dust, and it gives us the alarm. So these smoke alarm are very important. So when we have smoke alarm in our homes, what do we do? For a checklist. A checklist is what you use to identify areas of concentration, those things that can lead to accident, hazard in your home. So this is a home fire safety checklist that we can use. Now, the first thing I have here is smoke alarm, which is number one, to test and clean them regularly to make sure that there is nothing blocking them from detecting the smoke. At least one on each level, one in every bedroom where someone sleeps with the door closed. So they are giving us places where we should have a smoke alarm. At the ground level, we should have one. The second floor, we should have one. Rooms where people sleep and they close the door, we should have a smoke alarm. And also, I'm very sure it should, though the kitchen is always known to have a high temperature, but then if it's been regulated to a particular level, I think it's also a good thing to have it there. Our heaters, some homes that is in the cold region, countries like Russia, where they have extreme temperature, they used to have heaters. You know, sometimes we have high temperature here. We have air conditioned system in our homes. These people, they use heaters to increase the temperature and to make the place conducive for them. So what are the control measures for that? Install, maintain, and operate according to manufacturer's instruction. Some of us buy new equipment, some of us buy new. No matter what you buy, you should understand how to operate them according to how the manufacturers has instructed. Keep 1 meter clear space around. I think that has to do with the distance between the heater and every other thing that you have in your home. Turn off before going to bed or going out. Standard. That is a standard practice. Even when we are leaving our homes, it's a standard practice to always remove the cutout. Except, even I advise, if your refrigerator is filled with a lot of fruit or things that you preserved with the fridge, it's still advisable that you remove your cutout, sweep them off, or sweep off every other part and leave that place working because of what you have in there. But generally, it is always good to make sure that you don't have your power supply whenever you're not at home, because you don't know what could happen. Another checklist, another bullet point here is candle. Keep candles away from curtains, what we call curtain that we use in our window, curtains. We should keep them away, because they could, those curtains, they used to fly from one place to another, they used to swing. So we should make sure that they are far away from them, as they can also catch fire. Always use on non-combustible surface. If you want to place your candle on any surface, that surface should be non-combustible. Now, our kitchen, that is the next thing that I have on my right side here. Never leave cooking unattended. If you are cooking, someone is supposed to be in the kitchen. Most of us develop the culture, the habit of watching. Most of us are watch Telemundos and all these films. If we develop the attitude of going outside, maybe going to the sitting room to watch film while you are cooking, at the end of the day, you get distracted, and what you are cooking get burnt. Not only burnt, it also leads to a situation where probably the electric cooker, what you are using, also extend the fire. Before you know it, everywhere is on fire. So we should always make sure that we are in our kitchen whenever we are cooking. Keep combustibles such as tea towels and curtains away from cooking and heat source. That is similar to the curtain. Keep pot handles turned in. Keep grills, fans, and cooking surfaces free of grease residue. As you know, grease, oils, they can also lead to fire. When you're frying your oil and you leave it unattended, it can explode and lead to fire. Our laundry session too, there's a checklist for it. And our front door never deadlock doors when you are at home. If you must keep doors deadlocked, leave your keys in the lock. That means that don't lock yourself inside the home. If there is any reason why you should lock it, make sure that the keys are there. The key is there in case of any emergency situation. Develop and practice your own fire escape plan. Most of us don't have it. Most of us don't tell our children how to use a fire extinguisher ordinarily, which is most of us don't even have in the first place. And most of us that have, we don't tell them. We only believe that we are the only one. We are the one that can extinguish. Meanwhile, if fire can happen and won't be at home, everybody needs to understand where and what to do whenever there's a fire. Most of us in our kitchen, there should be an exit in our kitchen alone, but some of us don't have it. And if there's no exit in the kitchen, the exit should be very close to the kitchen, and a fire extinguisher must be present in the kitchen. Develop and practice your own fire escape plan, like I said. Now, another one says open fireplace. That is, always use a fire screen in front of an open fire. Put our fires before going to bed or going out. We know what they call a fireplace. I think that is, I don't think it's common here. It's common in the European part of the world where they have a corner where they put on fire for heat source, for it to heat up the surrounding. Electric blanket. Turn on no more than 30 minutes before bed. Turn on before you get into bed. Turn off before you get into bed. Before you go to bed, you turn on, you turn off. Remove heavy items from bed when on. That is for the electric blanket. I think those are part of those special things that are being used. It's not a general equipment. And for the bedroom, it is not advisable to smoke in your bedroom, and do not leave laptops on bed. And that was the error that the lady did when she placed the laptop on the bed, and that led to a serious fire. So these are some of those things that we need to know. I was talking about, let me try to see if this video will be visible to us for the last time. Can we see the video now?
Welcome to another episode.
Can we see the video?
With Mercy. In this episode, we are going to discuss
Yes, we can see the video.
causes of house fire.
Okay.
Yeah, yes, I think I can see the video now. Let's stay with Mrs. Mercy, right?
You are welcome,
Please, let's
Mrs.
listen.
Mercy. What did you have for us today? I want to discuss about common house fire and the necessary precautions to take. A house can easily catch fire from the misuse of appliances and heating equipment to smoking in bedrooms. However, you can take measures to avoid fire in home and ensure the safety of your family. Well understood. But what are the common causes of house fire? Common causes of house fire includes cooking equipment, heatings, candles, electrical equipment and flammable liquids. Let's take it one after the other. Cooking equipment. Pots and pans can overheat and cause a fire very easily if the person cooking unattended. In order to prevent this, always stay in the kitchen or ask someone to watch your food when cooking with hot
We
plates.
just mentioned this now.
Secondly, heatings. Keep portable heaters at least 1 meter away from anything that could easily catch fire, such as furniture, curtains, laundry, clothes, and even yourself. If you have furnace, get it inspected once a year to make sure it is working to safety standards. Sorry, Mrs. Mercy. Thank you. The next one includes candles.
Candles.
Yes, candles. Candles look and smell pretty, but if left
I hope you
unattended,
can hear
can
it
cause
clearly.
a room to easily burst into flames. Keep candles away from any obviously flammable items such as books and tissue boxes. Always blow a candle out before leaving a room. A good number of houses has gotten burned down to ashes as a result of careless use of candles in Nigeria.
Wow, that's sad. That definitely would have led to loss of lives and millions of naira.
Yes, Mrs. Precious. So you need to be careful.
Definitely.
Electrical equipment are also cause of house fire. An electrical appliance, such as a toaster, can start a fire if it is faulty or has a frayed cord. A power point that is overloaded with double adapter plugs can cause a fire from an overuse of electricity. A power point extension cord can also be a fire
I hope
hazard
you
if
can
not
see,
used
you can hear what
appropriately.
they're saying there. You can see the
Double
video.
check the appliances and power points in your home. And lastly but not the least is the flammable liquids. If you have any flammable liquids in the home or garage, such as petrol, kerosene, or any methylated spirits, keep them away from heat sources and check the label before storing. It's preferred to store them outside the home in minimal quantity as required. And the store should have a fire extinguisher at entrance.
Wow, well understood, Mrs. Mercy. But can you give us general precautions to prevent fire accidents in our homes?
Yes, there is. Some of the general precautions of house fires include: keep all fires and heaters well guarded, especially open fires. Keep portable heaters and candles away from furniture and curtains. Position safely where they cannot be knocked over. Do not smoke in bed. Fit approved smoke detectors on each floor. Choose a smoke alarm that is main operated or one with a long life battery. Position your fire extinguishers at critical points where there can be a possibility of a fire, such as in the kitchen, store and electrical supply changeovers. Only attempt to extinguish the fire at early stage. And lastly, plan your escape route. Remember, get out, stay out, and call the fire brigade out.
Get out, stay out, call the fire brigade out.
Yes, that is the principle of staying safe from fire accidents.
Nice section with you, Mrs. Mercy.
Thank you, Mrs. Precious. I hope you enjoyed today's discussion.
Yeah, I hope it was audible enough. Hello? I hope it
Yeah,
was,
it is.
yeah.
It is.
So, if we listen carefully, we see we hear what she said last. First thing is to get out. Fly out and call the fire brigade out. If there are cases of fire accident in our home, what we please let us mute ourselves so that we will not obstruct the section. So, whenever there's a fire accident, we should raise the alarm. That David Okogo, please help yourself. So whenever we get across or we have a fire accident in our homes or wherever we are, we should always try to raise the alarm. Let everyone know that there's a fire accident, and we should avoid going back to the scene of the fire. We avoid going back to the scene of the fire, not able to take anything. It's very, very important. Not even to take anything. We should make sure that we are outside. We raise the alarm, tell people to go out, and call those that can help us to extinguish the fire. Remember, there's a difference between prevention and curing. Like people do say, prevention is better than cure. It applies to this too. Preventing a fire accident is much more better, far better than not trying to extinguish a fire when it has started. So let's try and put all these things we've spoken about. Let's try and put it into practice. Let's have a fire extinguisher in our home. Let's maintain our equipment, our electrical tools at home. Let us check them. If anyone develops any fault, let us make sure that we take them out. Our gas cookers that were used in the kitchen, let's make sure that they are outside and they are in good condition. There are no leakages around them and they are working perfectly. Let's avoid the use of candles on bed. Let's avoid passing even electrical cables close to our chairs. There will be a space because there might be a faulty connection on the electrical equipment, and it can actually get across to the chair that is very close to it. That is why some people use a conduit system to do the electrical wiring, so that in case of anything, it is protected. So let's try to avoid all these fires. If we as individuals can avoid the fire and we spread the knowledge across to others, and we keep on spreading that knowledge, before we know it, there will be a total reduction in the number of lives that have been lost to fire accidents. There will be a total reduction in the amount of money, billions of naira, that have been lost to fire accidents. And at the end of the day, we are going to have a safe country to live in. Just yesterday, I think so, there was another fire explosion, a gas explosion around the Todela Bridge, which calls for action to be taken by our government in the issues of this explosion happening in recent time. But we in our homes, let us also try to have good safety practice and have a life worth living. Because I must tell you, fire accident is not something that is funny at all. I pray we won't be victims of such kind of things. So that will be our discussion for today. Please, if you have any contribution, any addition, please let us signify and let us discuss together. Thank you all for coming. Thank you all for listening. I really love you all. So if you have questions, please let us ask our questions. Questions?
First of all, thank you very much for this very good topic, and thank you for accepting us among your guests to attend this very interesting presentation. My question is there any plan to target mainly the youth or the kids in terms of awareness? So is there any plan for youth awareness in fire prevention?
Yeah, youth awareness in fire prevention. Using Nigeria as a case study, because I'm very sure the person speaking is not a Nigerian, I'm very sure. Am I mistaken? So using Nigeria as a case study, we owe it as individual responsibilities. Though we have a lot of organizations that have been addressing the issue of awareness, it's not limited to the youth. It also takes into consideration the elderly, and individuals have taken in it personally to create that kind of awareness. We have people that have created a platform where they educate the kids alone. They call it child safety education. We have a lot of them here in Nigeria. And we have safety organizations like ASSP. I'm very sure of ASSP. They go extra length in WSO2. We have a lot of them in Nigeria. We have HSC Nation, that is AfriSafe. We have a lot of them like that has taken on it as their own responsibility. We have the safety advocates in Nigeria to continue to create this awareness about safety generally. So I think that answers the question.
Thank you very much. So yes, I'm not from Nigeria, I'm from Algeria. And the reason why I asked this question, because everything goes with the culture. And the best way to spread the culture is when you start getting the millennials, getting the kids, getting the teenagers more aware, then they will grow with it. And you mentioned about WSO. I am the national office director for Algeria for WSO, and you mentioned about ASSP. I am professional member of ASSP. The difference between such countries, USA, UK, Australia, is the fact that their organizations, among them the ones that you mentioned, they are targeting the young people. They are going to schools. There is even a mandatory program. If you go to USA, if you go to UK, if you go to Scandinavian countries, mainly Finland, it's a mandatory program at school. So is there any plan in Nigeria to work with the government, to work with the Ministry of Education to inculcate this at school. This is what I'm trying to do in Algeria and in North Africa in general. So this is my question.
Okay. Following various publications, for example, the SSP, they have met severally with the National Assembly, that is for Nigeria, and there have been various activities that have taken place to create this awareness. But specifying to the kids alone, that I can assure you, but I'm very sure that there is a level of commitment or engagement between them and the Nigerian government in ensuring that this safety advocacy is being taken to the streets. Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, we really appreciate you for coming. Any other question, please?
Sorry, that's Slim Gorbel. I have question. Is there any plan, for example, I saw that in the presentation we were discussing about the fire equipment, like I can see the classical fire extinguishers. But what I observed in the last period, and we know at home, most of the families and the member, I can say it, family members, kids, wives, even mother or father, they are not trained. And like Farhad, he mentioned it for the awareness. Most of the people, they are not really trained. But is there any plan to have those kind of a new unique use of fire extinguishers, like those water bottles or the fireballs, that it can be used in the at home? So I think this, for example, is part of the new technology we are using. And is there any plan to have this by the regulation, by the bodies, and even I know some countries. For example, I am from Tunisia, and in Tunisia, those type of or those kind of equipment is not anymore, is not till now accepted by the culture, by the authorities, by the organization. So is there any plan to see this? Sorry?
What kind of equipment are you talking about?
You know, these fireballs, it's used in Asia and even in US now. It's unique use. In case of panic, you throw only the balls, and quickly it will explode and extinguish fire in the room.
Okay. I know what you're talking about. So what's the question now?
So is there, for example, in Nigeria or in Africa, or do you have any idea that this kind of equipment will be used or to be recommended in our countries as well? If you suggest, for example, I did not see the solution in your presentation, but I think those kind of equipment, it will be better used by the family member who is not trained, or even they don't know how to use fire extinguisher. So just to recap, my question is this coming, for example, in our countries, in our region as Africa?
Yeah.
And do you think, for example, we are talking all the group here, do you think it's much better to use those type at home? I think from my side, for example, I prefer to use this better than to have the fire extinguisher at home.
Yes, you're very correct. The fireball. Yes, the fireball came into existence a few years ago, and it has been proven to be effective. the thing about acceptance in Nigeria, to be frank with you, I don't think, you know, in Africa we still live in we are still a developing nation, in a developing situation where we don't have regulations for everything. So I don't think there's a regulation now that has restricted or limited the use of any kind of fire extinguisher in our community. And I believe that it's our responsibility as safety professionals to create this advocate to the government, to make them to understand that these things can also work. But in our homes, for example, the fireball works very well. And I think it's around, in Nigeria here, is around 9 to 12,000 naira. And 9,000 naira is around, let me say, is around $25, let me say 25, 22 to $25 for you to have one fireball. So the cost effectiveness is what people might look into. But when you look at is productivity, is highly effective. Once there's a fire and you throw it inside, immediately it extinguishes the fire. But then there's what we call ALAP. You know what we call ALAP? As low as reasonably practicable. You can't have a fire maybe on your pot now, a fire coming up in your pot that you can easily use a few squeeze of fire extinguisher to extinguish, and you put the fireball in it. But talking about regulation, I don't think there's any restriction in Nigeria that restricts you from using it. So definitely you can use a fireball in Nigeria. But like I said, it's our responsibility as safety professionals to create this advocate, to establish this kind of standard and put it to the government that, see, these are the things that the world has gone to. The world has gone beyond use of fire extinguisher. We can also have this. It is very easy to use. It is very depending on the kind of fire, affordable and durable too. So there's no need for reservicing on anything. Once you have it in your home. Though I don't know the expiring date or expiring period, but I believe that it's very effective, and it's our responsibility to create the advocate for the government. So let us join hands together to talk to the government, create platforms like this where we can continue to talk and enlighten the world about it. But personally, anybody can get it in Nigeria. There's no restriction in Nigeria. You can get it, you can have it in your home, and it's very, very effective when you have a large fire. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much. And just to mention, the first lesson I got in firefighting is that fire we can extinguish it with cup of water in the first couple of seconds when we see it.
What kind of water?
After a few times.
What kind of extinguisher?
With the fire, when it starts in the first seconds, we can extinguish it with cup of water.
Okay.
If
what kind of fire? Which class of fire? Is this class A fire or class B fire or class C fire?
For example, you are in your desk and you see a fire on top of your desk with papers.
Okay.
You see? So after a couple of seconds and after a period, we can say 20, 30 seconds, with ton of water, you cannot extinguish it sometimes. That's like a code for fire. Like code, we learn it. So what I want to what I mean, the first intervention we can do mainly at home, it will save a lot. And that's why, from my opinion, I highlighted the point of fireballs and those type of new devices, because at least when intervene the first seconds, we can extinguish the fire at home. And as you mentioned, there is too much of we can say combustible at home, like papers, furniture, sofa at home, in the kitchen, in the room, bed, clothes, all of those stuff. So as max and as fast we intervene, as max our intervention will be efficient. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate your contribution. Thank you very much, sir. Mr. Ferhat Mohia, I sent you a private message. I hope you reply the message before we close the session. And Mr. Slim. So please, can you provide me with your details? Please, so that we will go further in the discussion on the fire safety. So after the session,
Sure.
Yeah, thank you. I think you saw the link on the fire safety page on Facebook, right? Hello? I think it's all. So thank you all for making it to this session. We really appreciate your presence. We really appreciate you coming. We know we are trying our best to continue the safety awareness, and we'll continue to do this at every point in time. It was a very short notice, but we still have the presence of Mr. Azubike Oba, Mr. Olawale Azan, Mr. Onyekachi Emmanuel, Mr. David, always here. I appreciate your coming. Mr. Michael, Kehinde, and Johnny, I appreciate your presence. Thank you very much, and do have a lovely day ahead. Safety first, safety always.
Thank you very much, sir. Really appreciate.
Thank you very much.